Um, Hi everyone, this is Natalie. I have oily, oily acne prone skin, especially hormonal acne. This is like 1 week to my period, so everything is popping up now, especially around my chin and mouth. Um, Today I am talking about I'm reviewing like the Ekaterina luxury cream. Uh, I Again, it's not a product I can talk about. Like, I can't talk about any product, including any of the ones that I really love, for like 10 minutes. So I'm just going to talk about Sabbatical Beauty's creams in general. I've tried most of them. And then Ekaterina, and who I think it is good for, because it's definitely not like a product that I constantly reach for, but I can see for certain kinds of skin types and certain ages and everything, that it would suit them very well. So like I have tried like the calm cream, the donkey cream, the camel milk, donkey milk, as well as the Ekaterina. And the only one that I've currently finished, like a full size option of, is the camel milk cream, and even then it took me like a very 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 long time to finish it. And the reason for that is because a full size bottle is huge. Like, it's really really huge, and I think it's one of the most you get your money's worth when you buy it, as compared to say serums, which are quite a bit smaller. And yeah, like I said, I have oily and prone skin, so my favorite kinds of my my I of all of the creams, donkey cream is probably my favorite. Although like I have bought a full size jar of Ekaterina myself, like even before I did the 4 box review, and I really wanted to love it. I do you like using it occasionally. I have bought 3 jars for my mother, and she has this is actually the third jar. So she's finished using 2 full-size jars since like I started buying them for her last year, and it's one of those things that she really really likes about SB. um so who do I think that this is for? So like the Ekaterina cream, like it's the luxury cream. It is like the most luxurious thing in the entire SB line, from like the smell to the texture of the product and everything. So the smell wise, if you have Camellia Gold, it is the same scent, which is why I really like using Camellia Gold scent, because this is like probably one of my favorite scents in the entire box. And I'm just really sad that not on the entire box, yeah, it's one of my favorite scents in the entire 4 box, as well as the entire SB line, because it's just, I don't even know what it smells like. It's just very luxurious and it's just very unique. But it's it's basically got gold flakes in it. I don't know if you can see it on the camera. It's got gold flakes in it, and when you first open it, there are all these gold flakes that are sprinkled on top. It has actual gold flakes in it. It's also made out of like caviar and 4 different types of gold, which is just like, it sounds incredibly excessive and opulent, but I don't know, there's just something about this cream that really really works if you have certain kinds of skin types. Like yeah, like if like my mom has got aging skin, it's somewhat oily, and she really really hates anything that feels heavy on the skin. So she's not into the kinds of Korean skincare regimes where you like apply multiple serums or anything. She's always very worried that like something is too rich. I sometimes don't know what that means, because I don't know whether it refers to the intensity of the ingredients, or it refers to the texture. I've concluded it has nothing to do with the ingredients itself. It has to do with texture. Like I tried. She doesn't like using Dorian Gray serum anymore, even though she used to love it. Cause and like, but like she really liked 5 ginseng, which has very 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 active ingredients because she like it's like a water like texture. So she really really liked this because and it's probably the lightest of all the creams because this one has like a whipped texture. So it's just very light, it's very fluffy, you don't need a lot of the product, and like it just applies like a dream on your face. Unfortunately, because this product does not have preservatives, after a while the product itself will deflate slightly, like the whipped texture, the whip like moussey, it's like a moussey kind of a texture, it'll just drop. But it doesn't mean that the product itself has become defective, like it's still made out of the same ingredients and everything, just make sure there's it just becomes, I guess, less fluffy and in my opinion slightly less fun to put on. So I think the SB, basically all the SB creams have got a slightly balmy kind of a texture. They are, I think, on with creams like on the slightly heavier side. Even this product, I think, as compared to, because before this all my creams were basically very watery, or they were of gel textures, which I prefer to use because my skin is so oily. Yeah, so like if you found donkey cream or camel milk cream or even calm to be on the heavier side, which I think they're more or less the same kind of texture, you honestly don't need a lot of them. Like I feel like the trick to using those heavier, I say heavier because they're not really that heavy, like big, but like if it feels like balmy under your skin, it's really just about using as little product as possible, then you warm it up under your fingers, and when it's like melted slightly, then you apply it to your face. And I really try to do this because I realized that when I first started using Calm especially, I will over apply and then I'll just get so much product on my face, and it just I'll turn into an oil slick halfway throughout the day, and that just wasn't very, obviously not pleasant when you're someone who is oily, and yeah, I just turned into this like ridiculously oily mess because I was just applying too much. So if that's been a problem for you, just apply as little as possible. Like what I like to do and then I like to dab it onto like little dots onto my face, and then just rub the whole thing out, and really just be as minimal as possible. So creams. I think someone was asking this in the Facebook group a few days ago, like what is the, like if for example you're using a sleeping pad, do you need to use a cream, or like if you're can you just layer serums and then just leave it and not need it in creams at all? I'll be like, yes and no. Like I feel like the entire purpose to creams is honestly to ensure that none of the moisture or none of the serums actually evaporate from your skin, which is why like it's important to have either a cream or a beauty oil, like something heavier as a finishing step. Like I couldn't just apply Asia Powerhouse and Marine serum, for example, because my skin would feel really dry after maybe an hour. Like there was nothing to like basically lock in the ingredients into my skin. Like at the same time, like there are serums like Hydra, for example, which has argan oil in it, and because of that, like when I need like a one serum like thing to slap onto my face, like maybe post yoga, and then I'll just come home and take a proper shower after that, like that's usually a good bet. But like I still feel like creams are an essential part of a skincare regime, because you, especially if you have live in like hot weather or dry weather, which I do in both because of air conditioning as well as like just Singaporean heat. Like it's really really warm right now because I've turned off the fan, so you wouldn't have any kind of any background noise while I film this. But like yeah, like the with creams, it's just like incredibly, it's just important to keep them, like to keep your skin like properly hydrated, and not just use like thinner serums, right? If you really need, like, don't want it because you can't just stand the feeling of a cream on your skin during like a summer or something, use at least a pressed serum. You just need something to lock in that moisture into the skin. Yeah, so there have been times where I thought I could give up having creams within my regime, when I was convinced that I only needed the Camellia Gold oil or the blush oil, both of which are lovely, but like I was thinking that I wouldn't need creams in my regime anymore, and I was so wrong. So like facial oils are great, but I've realized that a big difference I feel that when I take the donkey cream out of my system. And this is, I guess, is where I talk about the different kinds of creams within SB line, and like which ones are my favorite, and like doctor, and I'll talk about Ekaterina specifically. So like I said, I started using Calm first. Not a big fan of it, like not at all, because it's got a very strong chamomile scent, and I just like hated the smell of it, because and then like when applying it on my skin, and I feel like it didn't do anything for me. Like, it's very good for hydration, but that's about it. And like I said, skin acne prone, so acne prone. I got all these things. This is like, yeah, I got so much acne right now. It just doesn't do anything for me. Then I heard the camel milk was good. I couldn't decide between camel milk or donkey milk, and I just went camel milk first because that one's unscented. So if you like unscented products, maybe that one's for you. Like, I went to camel milk. Didn't like it was good. It was good, but I think what was really good for me was when I started using donkey milk this year. That one is vanilla scented. I love the scent. I feel like texture wise it's very similar to camel milk, although in my opinion it is slightly lighter, but it might be a batch difference thing, because I've heard people say it's slightly heavier. I've heard people say it is exactly the same, and like just honestly it's a very minute difference for me. And it's just like donkey cream, I guess, just works very well personally on my skin. Then if you go to Ekaterina, honestly, this full-size jar used to be mine. I bought one full-size jar for my mom, I bought one for myself, and then I tried to substitute. Like, I think I was finishing up my camel milk cream at that point, and I tried to substitute it from my regime with this, and my skin was not happy. Not because this was causing any problems, I think, like when I used it. So like, what are the benefits of this? This keeps your skin matte, like slightly more so than the other products, I feel. Like I said, it's fluffy, it's whipped, so it goes into your skin really well, and your skin just glows after using this, because like the gold actually, it's very, like, using Camellia Gold, the gold actually settles into your skin and sort of like reflects the light. So that's always nice. And I think like cosmetically, like just like very surface level, reduce the redness of my skin a bit when I had it on. But like the problem is, it's really good for hydration. I feel it's so if you have dry skin, I think this is the product for you. If you are not dealing, even if you have oily skin and you're not dealing with like massive amounts of acne, I think this is a really good product. There's a reason why it's a huge favorite amongst a lot of the SBS. But for me, it just didn't work. Like it's like I could use Dorian, I could use Hydra, I could use all my usual like acne blasting products underneath the cream. But if I feel like if my cream isn't something that deals with acne as well, like it's like for me a wasted step, or my skin just doesn't like it's not effective on my skin. So I think I ended up breaking out a lot. Again, not because of the product itself, because I've used it during periods where my skin was fine, and like I wasn't experiencing like heavy acne during that period, and like my skin was fine with it. But I don't know, for some reason my skin is just like ridiculously picky this year, like because I used to steal it when my mom had it, and then just use it on days when I wanted to feel like extra luxurious or anything. Like last year, skin was okay. But it's just every time I've used it this year, even while like reviewing it for the fall box, I don't know why my skin just freaks out about it. So I've been using the donkey cream most of like my review period for fall box, because every time I've used it I feel like a new acne pops out, so it feels like the Onky cream is only keeping those monsters at bay. Yeah, my mom just offered to take me to a traditional Chinese medicine doctor yesterday to see if like what the cause of my acne is, and I just feel like telling her like I know what it is. It's my irregular sleep cycles, because I do day shifts and 2 weeks of day shifts, and then I do 2 weeks of night shifts, so it feels like I'm consistently jet lagged. Like I feel jet lagged now. I can't even, because I've been doing night shifts and I've been sleeping at, I can't even go, if I go to bed at 1, I'll end up sleeping at 3 or 4, and it's just awful, and then I'll wake up and I'll feel exhausted. Yeah, so that's fun. Like a lot of it is hormonal acne, as you can see. It's all around this area as opposed to like on my cheeks itself. So yeah, like I feel like Ekaterina just doesn't do anything for it right now. But I honestly, if like don't, because it works for me, like it doesn't, just because it doesn't work for me, it doesn't work for my like ridiculous picky skin right now, I feel, doesn't mean that it's not a good product. It is. It's a great product. That was a reason why I bought a full-size jar of it for myself, and like give it a go, which is why I really think the 4 box is a really good way of being able to try this, because the sample size of this is pretty expensive. It's like 100 USD, which is more expensive than most of the samples, but like, to be fair, like it's got more product than your usual sample size jars, and it is also like it's also just really really great for being able to try out products you might not buy individual like sample size items for. And like honestly, like it is a great product. It just isn't working for me right now. Yeah, like my very picky mother is on her 3rd jar, and like she's like, this is like, I don't know, 1/8 of the 3rd jar through. I think you can see all the gold flakes that are buried, the gold pieces that are buried inside the cream. So when you get the jar, don't be afraid to use the gold flakes on top, as you can see from over here. Like just go ahead and dig into the cream, because the gold flakes are all over inside. It smells great. I think it has earned its name as a luxury in the brand. And yeah, I don't really have anything more to say to it, except like really just give the 4 box a go if you're curious about the product and trying it out, because even though it doesn't work for me, I think it's worth it with the rest of the products there. So I'm gonna just finish off here. If you're watching this via YouTube, like and subscribe. Thank you.